Hello and welcome to AirgunWeb and our series called Take Aim. I know many of you are eagerly awaiting the next installment in our accuracy experiment with the BT65 and Hawk scope. Unfortunately, the weather combined with the holidays put a real crimp in my plans. I've already scheduled some time coming up to get back on track, but in the meantime, I thought I'd share a little tip that I read about on Pyramid Air's Airgun blog. It's a simple adjustment that can make that inexpensive bundled optic a lot more usable. So let's go ahead and get started. For this video, I want to use a typical inexpensive airgun. Now this is the Hotsan 1000S Striker Combo, which sells for about $100 and comes with their standard 3:9 by 32 airgun scope. As we've discussed in the past, these scopes are not really ideal for airgunning because the parallax, for simplicity we're going to call it focus, is set well beyond the usable range of the gun. For those that don't understand what I mean, I'm sure you're going to understand it when I explain it this way. Have you ever set your target up at 10 yards and tried to zoom in your scope all the way to 9x and found that the picture goes completely out of focus? You can see just fine if you zoom all the way out, but the minute you zoom back in, the picture is out of focus again. This is caused by a parallax setting greater than the range you're trying to shoot. There are some scopes, such as the Hawk Air Max EV, which has a front objective that allows you to adjust the focus and thereby use all the available magnification at just about any range. If only you could do the same thing with this inexpensive bundled scope. Well, what I've learned is that in some cases, you actually can. Before I get into exactly how to do this, I think it's very important that I explain a couple things to you. Not every scope is designed to allow you to adjust the parallax. For example, this Gamma scope right here cannot be adjusted. Neither can this particular center point scope. That front glass is permanently fixed and can't be adjusted. Also, just because a scope may be able to be adjusted doesn't mean that you can't damage your scope or even completely destroy your scope trying to adjust it. So you need to ask yourself, is it worth trashing my scope to try this? If you're willing to take the risk, then I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do it. I'll show you what to look for to make sure that you can do it. The first thing you're going to look for is this seam on the front of the scope. This will usually tell you that the objective can be loosened and possibly adjusted. The next thing you're going to look for is an adjustment ring inside the objective cover. But this doesn't necessarily mean that the scope is adjustable. Let's start with this Optima scope that's bundled with the Hotsan Airguns. As I gently remove the objective ring, I can notice that the inside ring does not move. Now this shows me that the outside ring is probably just a locking ring. Now by contrast, this Gamma scope also has a seam and what looks like an adjustable ring inside the objective. But when I begin to turn this front objective ring, I notice that the inside ring is also turning. And I bet you, if I keep unscrewing this, I'm simply going to remove this glass, break the seal, and ruin this scope. Now let's go ahead and go back to our Optima scope. I'm going to continue removing this front objective ring. And here is our parallax adjustment right here. Now some scopes are going to have a notch opposite each other, and you can use a knife blade or some other thin, flat object to adjust this front ring. Fortunately, these scopes really don't require anything. They turn pretty easy. Now, I do most of my shooting at 10 yards here in the shop, so what I'm going to do is set my magnification to 9x. I'm going to look at something that's about 10 yards away, and I'm going to turn this until the picture is completely clear. Then I'll go ahead and return the locking ring, and the scope will be basically adjusted. When you return this ring, be really careful that you don't change the setting that you just made on your scope. Once you tighten that down, you're all set and good to go. So why would you take the chance of ruining your scope? Most of these scopes are temporary scopes at best. Serious airgunners are going to get a replacement as soon as their wallet allows. And this little tip allows you to get a little more bang for your buck until you can save up for that better scope. I shoot quite a bit at 10 yards, and being able to take that bundled optic and actually see clearly at that close range allows me to get the most out of the product I'm testing. Like I said earlier, not all scopes can be adjusted in this fashion, so before you start poking around inside your scope, make sure that you're willing to toss it in the trash and buy a new one. Also, you can pretty much bet that once you've taken that objective ring off, any warranty associated with the product is no longer valid. These are important things that you need to take into consideration before attempting any modifications like this. Well, this wraps up another episode of Take Aim. I want to say a special thank you to Pyramid Air for sponsoring our channel in this series. Be sure to visit my website, www.airgunweb.com, for a list of all the items that we used in this video along with their related links. Until next time, this is Rick Utzler with AirgunWeb.com. Thanks again for watching.